You're listening to the Second Look podcast, where we take a closer look at what we're learning each Sunday at Connection Church to help you grow in your walk with Christ. Here are your hosts, Pastor Joe Terreri and Pastor Dan DeRochers.
Welcome to the Second Look. My name is Dan.
And I'm Joe.
And we're here talking about a purified bride. But first,
I don't know if I've ever been one of those. Yes, Dan. Hello. Good morning.
I hope you have not.
No, I haven't. Just to be clear for those listening.
Joe, it is Christmas week.
It is 2025.
Besides being destroyed on Christmas and not wanting to participate in anything, what's a Christmas tradition that you enjoy during this
love
season?
waking up on Christmas morning, watching my kids open their gifts, letting the house be turned upside down by endless wrapping paper boxes, then making everyone breakfast, waiting an hour, and then making everybody dinner. I really enjoy the holidays. I tried to explain to my family last night, it didn't go well, how meaningful I believe the Christmas story is, and yet how much I don't like Christmas. The older I get, the more meaningful the actual meaning of Christmas becomes.
Yeah.
And I like all the things around it less and less. Sorry. Is that okay to say?
If you weren't in this position,
Yeah.
would there be something that you enjoy that your family does?
No, and the truth is, I do enjoy it's. I think here's what's the okay. So it's I think like everything in life, the anticipation is part of the fun.
Yeah.
So you don't really get to anticipate Christmas because you're thinking like, and you and I and this is not a big deal. Everyone has things in their job, but like this is a heavy output week for us. So as everyone around you is getting excited for Christmas,
Like 9 services in 4 days.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, and that's just not me. That's all, that's that's our whole staff and even some of our
worship team,
our
tech
worship team,
yeah.
our tech team, many of our volunteers. So, there's just that sense where it's a pretty heavy lift for everybody. So if I wasn't in this position, I would look forward. I think I would enjoy Christmas, like the build up to Christmas. But in all honesty, I really do enjoy Christmas Day with my family. It's a lot of fun. And then I get to go visit my parents in Western New York, and I really am enjoying that. And so looking forward to just that celebration and seeing my family. And, we only get to go to Buffalo about 2 times a year. So it's always a meaningful time, and it's good to see loved ones. What about you? What are you looking forward to?
Last night, as I was putting the girls to bed, Anna said, "Dad, I'm so excited." And I was like, "Oh, for what?" Like, it could be anything.
Yes.
It could be, it's chicken nugget day.
Right.
I don't know. She goes, "Christmas is in 3 days." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, sweetie." Like, that's cool. Like, you're right about the anticipation.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's something about the lights and the music.
Yes.
And we had a rehearsal for our services yesterday, and we have some of the kids that are going to be involved in our service, and our worship team and all of that kind of stuff. And it really does. There's something about the magic of the season that I really do. I know that like some, and maybe you could say even many of the things that surround the Christmas season aren't pointed to Christ all the way in every heart.
But fun is good.
Fun is good. I also just love that one of the best times of the year, especially for kids, is tied to Jesus.
Absolutely. And
it's so cool.
And I think it's really fun to watch. I think I have a 6-year-old at home, and so we had the same conversation this morning. I said, as Christmas is only, it's coming up quick, he goes, "Dad, only 3 more days." Like, he was very dialed in on that. And so I agree. Like, it is so much fun to see other people enjoy it. No, but no, it's fun. It's fun to see, the excitement in your own family, and exchanging gifts is always really fun. And, it's the most unique morning of the whole year for your family. I mean, I know for us, it's like, when do we all wake up? Or, when you have teenagers, they don't get up and
pull them out of bed.
Yeah, they like to get up around the crack of lunch, and so it's nice to see them up and do something all together. And so, but I actually really enjoy our Christmas Eve services. Yeah. Those are fun. Like, I actually really enjoy those. I love all the music. I love seeing just everyone with their families dressed up, and you don't have to dress up, by the way, just so everyone knows that. But people usually get dressed up a little bit, and the room's real lively, and it's fun to see all the people, and I really do enjoy our gatherings on Christmas Eve as well.
And as Pastor Vaughn pointed out yesterday, there is something about this season where we celebrate the coming of Christ, but we also look forward to his return. Before we get into that, this was Pastor Vaughn's first time preaching.
Yeah.
And this wasn't one of those, if you've been around church for a long time, there's like those token times that you let one of the pastors speak.
Yeah.
This wasn't that.
No. It's interesting. I was really thinking about, we can cut this if this is not a good conversation, but I was actually reflecting yesterday on the need in the body of Christ for us to have space to develop people who are coming up in the ranks of ministry. And so one conversation I had yesterday with Andrew, we were praying for Pastor Vaughn during the 10 o'clock service. And so when I'm not preaching, I'll usually sit in a service. I'll usually pray during a service and then
eat a bagel during one of the services.
Yeah, honestly, yes. So that's actually what I do. So because it's a long morning and you're exactly right.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we're here all morning. It's okay. You just take a little bit of time to eat a bagel. But Pastor Andrew and I were talking about what was your first Sunday morning sermon like? And I had my friend Johnny texted me yesterday, goes, how good do you think Vaughn's message was in comparison to your first message? And I'm like, way better, like way, way better. And I was actually thinking how awesome it is that when you preach for the first time on a Sunday morning, you actually have to do it 3 times, because if you do it once and it's like, because I feel this way every Sunday. I always feel after the 8:30 service, it's always like, I got to improve this and that, not say this. I'm going to make this joke here. I really want to go after this in the next service. And so, I often feel after 10 o'clock, like, oh, that was my best effort. And it's not that I'm not trying at 8:30. It's just like in everything in life, you just get better. And so I was thinking about Pastor Vaughn yesterday, and number one, I thought he did just a great job. I mean, that dude is in his early 20s and learning to preach, and he's obviously gifted. And even throughout the day, I mean, I did listen to every message about jokes and about bagels aside, and just watching him improve throughout the day. But I guess I just want to speak something to whoever listens to the Second Look podcast about, one of the things that I think we just all need to be aware of is we need to be careful that the standards for preaching in the local church is not in comparison to your favorite megachurch pastor. Because, and listen, I'm not against megachurches. I'm not against megachurch pastors. I listen to megachurch pastors preach occasionally. I am not against that, and I don't think you should stop doing that, whoever's listening. But here's what I do want to say. The localness of the local church, meaning we are a church in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, and we are called to reach our community. So no matter what's happening on Instagram or in Texas, it doesn't matter. What God has called the people of this church to is to reach our community. And part of being the body of Christ in this community is being about the community call of raising up the next generation of leaders. And so we need to be so careful when we're listening to a message, whether it's from me or whether it's from another pastor or another guest, that we're not thinking thoughts like, well, this isn't as good as my fill-in-the-blank favorite internet preacher, because that actually cuts away at the mission of God. Because I don't know if people know this or not, there's a crisis in the United States and in Canada and probably globally around young people who actually want to spend their lives in the local church preaching, teaching, and serving. And so we have an embarrassment of riches at Connection Church with a phenomenal pastoral and church staff. But one of our callings as a church is to develop the next generation of leaders. And that is a community project. So I had one guy come up to me after church yesterday, and he just was, this was such a sweet man, even though he's wearing all Eagles gear. He said, hey, I thought Vaughn did a good job today. And I said, thank you for telling me that. Go tell him. We need to be encouraged. And so I love our church because I saw people, and I want to be clear, Vaughn did a great job, but just theologically as a church, our pastors belong to the church. We're not entertainers. We're not performers. We're shepherds. And so we're going to go through the learning process with new communicators, and we're going to watch speakers develop, and they're not all going to stay with us. We want to send them out. The kingdom of God is not Connection Church. We are a micro fraction of the greater body of Christ. And so just want to encourage us with that. Like, let's be the kind of place where young pastors can grow and develop and hone their gifts and be encouraged and receive feedback. And thanks for listening to that. But I was really burdened with that yesterday as I was reflecting on the day.
Yeah. And we did receive an incredible message from the Lord that turned our hearts in a different way to the Christmas story, because it wasn't, actually, I don't think Vaughn said it in any of the services, but it wasn't in his manuscript about 6 pound, 8 ounce baby Jesus.
Yes.
But it's actually, he turned it to our hearts, preparing room and preparing our hearts as a bride, and this is as the church, for the bride of Christ's return. I actually said it jokingly before this podcast, is Joy to the World, which we sang a couple weeks ago, we'll sing again on Christmas Eve, was actually written about the second coming of Christ.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that's often lost in the celebration of Advent. Christmas is a celebration of Jesus' first Advent. That's what we call it, Advent. Advent means arrival or coming. But it's also, as Pastor Vaughn pointed out yesterday, and you're making the point, it's supposed to remind and prepare our hearts for his second coming. And even in the context of our series, Promise Kept, we can understand that we have a God who has promised to send his son, and he has fulfilled that promise. And Jesus himself promises, along with, Vaughn said yesterday, about conservatively 1,500 prophecies about his second coming, that Jesus is returning. And so this is supposed to be a season of great hope for us, because God kept his word the first time, and so we can be confident he's going to keep his word a second time.
For people that aren't familiar with those prophecies, I mean, what are the implications of Jesus' return to earth?
Well, too many to name, but a few that just pop into my head right away. Number one, I think Vaughn touched on it yesterday, preparation. Have living your life as if Jesus could come back at any moment, and not in some weird, like, we're not going to prepare for retirement, or we're going to
have apocalypse food buckets in our basement.
Right. And listen, I know sometimes people do that. I'm not against that. I understand some people that's what they want to do. No judgment for that. But like, we want to be prepared spiritually. And Vaughn said it so well yesterday. Like, you're spending time with the Lord, you're staying close to Jesus. Like, that's, and like, we need to demystify being prepared for his return. Here's how you're prepared for his return. Stay close to Jesus every day. Just stay close to him. Second thing is living our life with hope. And Vaughn touched on that yesterday. I love these words from 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 13. Peter says, "Therefore, preparing your minds for action and being sober-minded, set your hope fully on the grace that will be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ." That's his second coming. And then listen to this. "As obedient children, do not be conformed to the passions of your former ignorance, but as he who called you is holy, you also be holy in all your conduct, since it is written, 'You shall be holy, for I am holy.'" And so what Peter is doing there, he's connecting hope, Jesus' second coming, and then a holy lifestyle. And so here's how you know you're living with hope. You've committed yourself to a life of holiness. And what does holiness mean? It means a life of being set apart for the Lord. It doesn't mean you've never failed, you've never made a mistake, you've never said a bad word, but it means that you understand that you belong to the Lord, and that the motivation and the desires of your heart are to please him. So you're working to cut out everything in your life that doesn't look like Christ, in your conduct, in your thoughts, in your words, in your motivations. And our goal, like, what does it actually mean to live with hope? It means I want to be holy like God is holy. And we're never going to attain that on this side of eternity, but we can at least say that's what I'm aiming for. That's the target. I want to be holy like the Lord, and I want to be set apart unto the Lord.
What does the inverse of that look like? Like, is the opposite of living a life of hope living a life of hopelessness? Or what if you're not sure? Like, I'm not sure that I've done that, or I'm not sure that I'm ready to do that. How do you take a step?
That's a great question. I'll speak as pastorally as I can here with just thinking this through. I think we need to look at the ways that we cope. And so I think all of us have coping mechanisms. And so I don't think there's anyone who's like, oh, you're perfect at coping. Like, now there's some people like, you grow in godliness and your coping mechanism is prayer. Like, okay, I just need to get alone with the Lord. I need to get with my Bible. I need to seek the Lord. That's healthy coping. For me, just straight up, one of the ways that I cope is I have to exercise at least 4 to 5 times a week. I need to get my heart rate going. I need to get my mind clear because it just helps me both mentally and spiritually. And so, but then we get into these unhealthy coping mechanisms. And so I think we're not living with hope when we turn to the bottle. I think we're not living with hope when we're like, you know what I'm going to do tonight? I'm just gonna watch Netflix for 4 hours. And by the way, I watch Netflix. I'm not down on Netflix, but there's a sense where it's like you can cross over from, hey, I'm going to take a few hours to enjoy something I like, to I'm actually trying to get away from the pain.
You're
and
like
now I'm
numbing.
trying to I just need to numb out for a long time. I think our phones can become that. I think pornography can become that. I think shopping can become that. I think eating can become that. And so some of these things are always wrong, right? But some of them are good things that we turn into coping mechanisms. And so I do think we need to pay attention in our hearts to, where do I feel like I have to cope with feelings of hopelessness? And that's and you have to examine your heart. And this is the thing about the Christian life. This is not intellectual, but you need to move past the surface of your feelings, and you need to ask yourself questions like, why do I feel like I actually need to escape right now? Like, where am I feeling hopeless? Where am I feeling sad? Why am I angry? Why am I feeling down today? And listen, sometimes it's chemical. And we're at Connection Church, we are fully wanting people to embrace, if you need to take medication for mental health, we are not down on that. If you need to see a therapist, we are for that. But we also need to say that those aren't always the things that are the answer. And so we need to move past and examine our hearts, because we all have bad days and down days, and like, why do I feel just ticked off today? And when you get to the bottom of that, you can help to see where your real hope is laying. Is it focused on Christ? Is he satisfying you? Or you're like, my hope is actually rooted in my job. My hope is actually rooted in my bank account. My hope is actually rooted in my kids.
Yourself, like,
or my identity.
I've got to get this thing figured out. I'm gonna brute force it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I hated canceling church last week. Like, I was like, man, I was on Monday last week. I was like, why am I so bummed? It's like, oh, we didn't have church yesterday, and I'm like, well, it was a snowstorm. But it's like, I started realizing, like, I was upset about that, and I had to deal with it. And I'm like, and then you start to feel yourself being drawn to coping mechanisms. And you're like, and it's just like, sorry, I have to do this in my life. Time out. That's not like whatever those coping mechanisms are, that's not going to help me. And the other thing is I couldn't run because everything was icy. And so I'm like, okay. And so those are good things to, like, go to the Lord and talk to a godly friend and process that. And I had to do those things, and it's good. It's healthy. But that's the opposite of living with hope.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I want to point out is you are hyper aware of those things. And I just feel like there are a lot of people that live their life unaware that they're even doing that, like, kind of checked out of their life and just living their life. And these are the things that I do. These are my patterns. And there's probably space for us to gain more of an open-eyed recognition to our mental health, to our spiritual life, to our physical practices in ways that we maybe haven't before, and we just, maybe our eyes need to be open to that.
Yeah. This is going to feel like it comes out of left field, but I actually think, and I'll just speak about my own life, the key to this in my own life, and I am far from perfect, so please don't think that, because I'm the pastor, everything in my life is just perfect. It's not. But here's what actually helps me the most. Godly friends. Having friends to process this stuff with when I am walking through disappointment, discouragement, being frustrated, being angry, being down, I have some friends that I call and I just tell them the truth about where I'm at. And I of course, my wife is one of those friends, and I have a few others, but I think what you're talking about, Dan, is we have to name these things in our life. And yes, there is personal time with the Lord, but everything we need spiritually doesn't come from our personal time with the Lord. Like, we were created for community.
That's right.
And so if you are feeling hopeless today, Bible reading, wildly important. Prayer, wildly important. Fasting, spiritual practices, I'm all for those. But do not underestimate the power of confession. And I'm not saying like deep, dark secrets. I'm just saying picking up the phone and saying, hey, I'm struggling today. And this is what's actually going on in my heart. And saying it out loud is so helpful. Saying it to someone who doesn't judge you, really helpful.
Yeah.
Saying to someone who's not trying to fix you,
Oh, man.
really helpful. And just praying with someone about it. It lifts. And so I guess this is not at all where we were expecting it to go today. But if you are feeling hopeless, a lot of that is born in isolation, and you're going to stay there if you remain isolated. Pick up the phone, call someone, take the first step, be vulnerable, because friendship actually is one of the most life-changing things in my own life.
Yeah. Well, this has been the last episode of The Second Look for 2025. We will see you again in 2026. Same set, same two
January
people.
5th.
January 5th.
Lord willing.
We'll be here. Thanks so much. Have a great day.